Today I figured I'd show everybody my poor, forgotten, neglected, and abandoned projects. They're sitting over here at the house I grew up in. This here is the 1970 Nova that my grandmother bought brand new down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's got 43,000 original miles on it. It's had a rough life. As you can see, it's got the 307 with a 2-speed power glide transmission. See if I can back up far enough. But the car only got driven a few miles back and forth to work down in Florida till she retired. Then in, I believe, '84, she wanted to move up here to be closer to my mom, since it's about the only family she had. So my mom and her drove back in our car, and my dad and I drove the Nova, pulling a U-Haul all the way from Florida up to here. Then the car sat unused in front of an apartment complex for a while, and she decided to go start it up one day. I don't know if she was going to just let it run or take it to the store or whatever, but something happened in the car. I think float stuck or whatever, but she had a carburetor fire, and of course that took out air cleaner, carburetor, rippled the hood, some of the wiring, the air conditioning, but it was all the necessities to make it run again were replaced. The air conditioning and all the other stuff was not. And then the car just sat again, driven maybe 5 miles a year until she gave the car to me in 1995. Then, well, I just used it to drive back and forth to work, and I was basically carpooling with a friend of mine. I'd drive it to work, and then he would drive it back, and then I'd basically drop him off at his house, and then I'd drive the car on home. Well, after working a 12-hour shift, driving home one morning about 6 in the morning, he turned around to reach for something in the back seat and hit the steering wheel with his hip, and it sent the car across the median and into a guardrail. And that was, I think, July of 1996. So basically I had the car just a little over a year before basically I destroyed it. And as you can see, inspection would have expired on September of '96, but the car never drove again on the road. It's been driven up and down the neighborhood, but it hasn't been registered for the road since. I mean, I've replaced the front fenders on it. That was when you could only find fiberglass reproduction fenders, or you just had to get the old ones. Now they make brand new ones, and if I had the money to restore the car, that's what it would get. New fenders, new hood, new quarter panels. I've already got the rear tail light panel, and just like the car, the old fenders have been sitting here for many, many years. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the hood and do a little bit more of a walk around. Well, the hood was a little bit tough to open. Hinges are getting a little rusty on it, and plus the hood, thanks to the fire and being from Florida, the sheet metal section's coming apart from the rest of it. But there's the bone stock 307 V8 with a 2-barrel carburetor. And like I said, the car's got 43,000 miles on it, and it would still start right up for me anytime I wanted to, even if it sat for 6 months to a year. But since I started driving trucks over the road, it just basically has been sitting untouched for the past 3 years. And of course these wheels and tires are not stock. Those are just a set of IROC Z rims that I had on my Camaro at one time, and they just made their way onto here. Of course, when I was given the car in 1995, had a fun trip home. I mean, I only had to drive, I think it was 8 miles from her apartment to this house, and since the car had just sat, even though the tires looked like new, the tread on 3 out of the 4 tires separated on me going down the road. And I ended up, as soon as I got it home, the old set of wheels and tires off my Camaro, which were a set of 14-inch wheels, they ended up going on here, and they stayed on it until the car was wrecked and then parked. I just put these on just because they hold air, they don't rub, I can drive it up and down the neighborhoods. I think these have been on it for about 12 years, maybe. Let's see. Oh good, it's unlocked. There's the interior. Horrible bench seat. Cracked dash. The headliner's in good shape, but I'm sure if I touched it, it would not be. There's the shoulder straps that have never been used. That poor car. But this is not the original instrument cluster. After the fire, it hazed up the back of the lens on it. Found one at the junkyard. Well, my dad found one at the junkyard that was within a couple 100 miles of what this car had on it. Of course, this instrument cluster is probably 143,954 miles instead of just 43,000, but it was within a couple 100 miles of what the car had on it, so he was pretty lucky to find that. And of course, it's got the indicator for a 3-speed transmission, and it's only got a 2-speed. And the steering wheel, that was replaced. I can't remember what the steering wheel came out of. I think an Impala or something, but the old steering wheel, the outside of it, just from the car sitting in the heat, it was kind of gooey, which this one's about to get that way. And well, there's the air conditioning vents that don't get used anymore. That one, the vents were broken, so I pulled the little centerpiece out of it, and I actually just started using that as a little storage tray. That one just fell out. It's actually in the glove box. But yeah, poor neglected car. Let's see what's in the trunk. I don't remember. Let's find out if there's any bodies in there. One of these days I'll get the key. Alright. Please no wasp. Or any other critters. Parts. That's the type of wheel and tire that I had on here for the year that I drove it on the road. And there's a brand new taillight panel to replace the rusted and damaged one. And of course it probably will never get installed. And inside this box is, I think, the new trim piece for the hood, which I never did buy a new hood. And that smudge right there is where the spare tire wasn't secured in the trunk when the car was wrecked, and it actually slammed up here and there and there, but I mean that's minor. Close this. So that's the worst of the damage right there, but this car's got bigger issues with rust. So I don't know. I may try to start this car, maybe make a video of it if enough people want me to. Well, y'all just let me know. Alright, well that's it for the 1970 Nova walkaround. Had a hard time getting the hood shut. I had to turn the camera off. Anyway, if y'all want me to make a video of it attempting to start, maybe even driving, just post a comment below and I'll see if I can get that video done. But it's been at least 3 years since it's been driven. Maybe 3.5 to 4. I can't remember exactly. But I haven't even attempted to start it or move it. I've just basically been mowing around it and weed eating around it and keeping the tires aired up and washing it off every once in a while. But there it is. 1970 two-door Nova with a 307 V8. Next time I come over here, I definitely need to do something with this 1986 Chevrolet military truck. It's a M1008. Yeah, it's only sitting over here because I actually was driving it over here to pick up some scrap metal, and a few miles from here something let go in the engine, and well, here it sits. I need a new engine. But there it is. I'll show you all the Camaro too real quick. Alright, and here's my 1987 Camaro. This was actually my first car. I bought it when I was 15 years old. April 28th, 1994. You know, basically a month before I turned 16. Of course, it didn't look like this originally. It looked like brand new, and of course, after I got it repainted and new hood and everything else on it, it had a better set of wheels, but I sold them and just put this set of wheels and tires, just rolling stock. But I pretty much gave up on this car. It still ran and drove fine, but thanks to it sitting, it won't run off of its own fuel tank. That's why I've got those hoses laying there to start it up off an auxiliary tank, but I haven't started it in a couple years either. I know, I just neglect all my projects. But I swore I would never sell my first car, but I actually think I'm going to. I know I won't get much for it. I mean, I may even just part the thing out. But well, there it is, my 1987 Camaro LT with the 305 V8 with the 4-barrel quadrijet carburetor, and it's got the 700R4 transmission.